Jackie Chan fell 60 feet onto concrete for a movie you've probably never seen. No wires, no CGI, and it's not even in my top 3. These are the best action comedies from the 80s that make today's films look like shit. Everyone thinks Pirates of the Caribbean invented the modern pirate movie in 2003. But 20 years earlier, Jackie Chan made a pirate franchise that's better than anything Disney ever put out, and almost nobody in America saw it. Project A came out the same year as Return of the Jedi. Chin plays a Hong Kong Marine Police sergeant going after pirates, and at one point he climbs up to a clock tower and falls 60 feet straight to the ground. No wires, no pads, just Jackie Chan hitting the dirt from 6 stories up. He did it 3 times to get the shot he wanted. Right up until Johnny Depp's Pirates, American studios were making pirate movies that bombed, like The Pirate Movie in 1982 or Cutthroat Island in '95. Meanwhile, Chan was over in Hong Kong proving the genre worked fine, if you actually made it entertaining. It took Hollywood 2 decades to figure that out. Sammo Hung doesn't get the credit he deserves. Everyone knows Jackie Chan, but Hung was making movies just as good, sometimes better. Millionaires Express has this moment where Yuan Biao does a side flip off a 2-story rooftop and lands on his feet on the ground below. No cuts, no tricks, just him launching himself off a building. And that's not even the craziest stunt in the movie. The plot is whatever. Train with money derails in a small town, bad guys show up, Hung and his crew have to stop them. But the cast Hung assembled is ridiculous. Cynthia Rothrock, Dick Way, Richard Norton, these are all legitimate action legends, and they're all in the same movie beating the hell out of each other. Hung made Eastern Condors and Pedicab Driver around the same time, and all of them prove he belonged in the same conversation as Chan. But Chan became a household name in America, and Hung's work mostly stayed underground. Still doesn't make sense to me. At number 10, I've got another little action movie, no Jackie Chan and no Sammo Hung. Just 3 actresses most people have never heard of, making what's probably the best Hong Kong action comedy of the 80s. The movie's set during the early revolution in China, and it follows 3 women whose lives intersect: a general's daughter, a musician, and an opera performer. It's dealing with heavy stuff about Chinese history, but it never feels like homework because they keep the action and comedy flowing through everything. The director made Once Upon a Time in China later, which got more attention in the West. But Opera Blues is his masterpiece. It balances suspense, action, and humor better than almost any other film from that era. The problem was it didn't have a recognizable action star attached to it, so Western distributors ignored it, which means most people still haven't seen the best thing he ever made. Billy Crystal and Gregory Hines play Chicago cops who screw up a case and get sent on vacation. They decide to retire and move to Florida, but want to take down one last drug dealer before they go. Standard buddy cop setup. Except the chemistry between Crystal and Hines is so good you keep waiting for the sequel announcement that never came. They're funny together without trying too hard, and when the action kicks in, they handle it just as smoothly. Director Peter Hyams made solid, workman-like action movies his whole career, like Outland or Narrow Margin. Nothing flashy, just well-crafted set pieces with interesting characters. Running Scared fits that mold perfectly. The weird thing is, Lethal Weapon came out the same year, and that became a massive franchise with 4 movies. Running Scared made okay money and disappeared. Both films work for the same reasons: great chemistry between the leads, good action, sharp dialogue. One got sequels, the other got forgotten. Watching it now, you can't help but think Crystal and Hines could have carried this for another 3 or 4 movies easy. Instead, it's a one and done that most people under 40 have never heard of. Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, and Yuan Biao made a lot of incredible action comedies together in the 80s. Dragons Forever was the last time all 3 of them appeared in a film together. The plot's got Chan as a lawyer working for a chemical plant, and he brings in Hung and Biao to help shut down some small business causing problems. Hung's a gun dealer, Biao's a burglar, and from the second they meet, they can't stand each other. Then they figure out maybe they're on the wrong side of this whole thing. What makes this special beyond it being their final collaboration is Chin playing completely against type. He starts the movie as a genuine asshole, which you almost never see from him, and all three of them are at the peak of their abilities when it comes to fight choreography and stunt work. The fights in this movie are absolutely spectacular. The third and fourth Lethal Weapon movies went way broader with the comedy, but the second one sits right on that sweet spot where it's got genuine emotional weight, real stakes, but it's also genuinely funny. A lot of that comes down to Joe Pesci showing up as Leo Getz. He just takes over every scene he's in. That's what makes this the best one in the franchise. Pesci elevates everything around him. But the real reason it works is Gibson and Glover. Their characters have evolved since the first film, and their friendship feels earned. They're constantly insulting each other, trading barbs, but the second things get dangerous, all of that drops and they're just trying to keep each other alive. There's this sequence where they literally pull down an entire mansion that's built on stilts, which is insane. And the third act gets genuinely heavy. People get hurt, things get personal. The comedy and the action and the drama all balance perfectly, which is hard to pull off. Robert Zemeckis wanted to make Back to the Future. The studio wouldn't let him. They didn't trust him with it. So he made Romancing the Stone instead. And when it became one of the biggest hits of 1984, suddenly the studio decided, okay, maybe this guy knows what he's doing. The movie itself had a rough road to theaters, casting problems, studio changes, executives who didn't believe in it. But Kathleen Turner and Michael Douglas have this incredible chemistry that makes the whole thing work. She's a romance novelist whose sister gets kidnapped, he's a rugged adventurer she meets in Colombia, and together they're trying to rescue her while maybe finding treasure. What's great about it is both of them commit fully to the physical comedy and the action. There's this long sequence where they're sliding down a rainy mountainside that's part stunt work, part slapstick. Danny DeVito shows up and has a wonderfully funny supporting role. He came back with Turner and Douglas for the sequel, Jewel of the Nile. But the original is the one that holds up, and it's also the reason we got Back to the Future. So there's that. Walter Hill needed a hit. His previous film, Southern Comfort, was actually really good, but it flopped hard at the box office. So he took on this buddy cop movie about a detective who springs a criminal from prison for 48 hours to help catch two killers. Buddy cop movies had existed for decades. There was even a great one in 1974 called Freebie and the Bean that nobody remembers. But 48 Hours is the film that made the concept irresistible to audiences for the rest of the 80s. Nick Nolte plays the grizzled angry cop. The villains are genuinely vicious. The plot's got a ticking clock. All of that works, but the entire funny bone of the movie rests on Eddie Murphy. This was Murphy's breakout, his star-making performance. He takes what could have been a standard action thriller and turns it into something you can't look away from. The film moves fast, it's thrilling, but Murphy makes it hilarious in a way that feels natural, not forced. 48 Hours became one of Hill's rare commercial successes, though it led directly to him making Streets of Fire, which flopped so he couldn't catch a break. But this movie defined what buddy cop action comedies could be, and Murphy is the reason why. Beverly Hills Cop was written for Sylvester Stallone. He signed on at first, but he had all these ideas about making it darker and more serious. He wanted a gritty action movie, and eventually the studio realized that wasn't what they had. So Stallone walked and took his vision to make Cobra instead. They brought in Eddie Murphy and rewrote the whole thing around his comedy. Murphy had some recognition from 48 Hours, but Beverly Hills Cop turned him into a global superstar. A lot of what makes it work came from Murphy improvising on set. The movie launched a franchise, made Murphy one of the biggest stars in the world, and it happened because Stallone wanted to make a different film. If he'd stayed, we would have gotten a dark revenge thriller. Instead, we got one of the funniest action comedies ever made. John Carpenter made 10 movies between 1976 and 1988. All of them were great. Halloween, The Thing, Escape from New York, mostly horror and sci-fi. Then in 1986, he made Big Trouble in Little China, which is pure action comedy. Kurt Russell plays Jack Burton, a truck driver who gets caught up in a supernatural gang war under San Francisco. Jack thinks he's the hero. He modeled the character partly on John Wayne, talks tough, acts confident, but he's terrible at being a hero. He gets knocked out constantly, makes bad decisions, shows up late to fights. The real heroes are the people around him, but Jack's convinced he's saving the day. Russell plays it with so much charm that you can't help but love him even when he's failing. Carpenter directed it and composed the score himself. It's a love letter to Hong Kong martial arts films and old genre mashups. The movie bombed when it came out, but it became a cult classic because it's wall-to-wall fun. Every scene has something ridiculous. It doesn't take itself seriously for a second. At number 2, I've got Jackie Chan's 5th movie as a director and one of the greatest action films ever made. But it's also hilarious. The opening has cars crashing through a hillside shanty town. Then Chan stops a bus by standing in the road and firing a warning shot. 2 American directors saw those scenes and just stole them. Michael Bay ripped off the shantytown crash for Bad Boys 2. The Tango and Cash director copied the bus scene shot for shot. When Hollywood steals your action sequences, you did something right. The finale happens in a shopping mall. Glass everywhere, Chan slides down a pole covered in electric lights, crashes through a sugar glass ceiling. He got injured doing that stunt, burned his hands on the lights, cut up from the glass, but he kept the take because it looked incredible. Robert De Niro plays a bounty hunter who has to bring in a mob accountant played by Charles Grodin. They're completely mismatched. De Niro's tough and grumpy, Grodin's neurotic and chatty. Mobsters and the FBI chase them across the country while they slowly drive each other insane. Morton Brest directed it, same guy who did Beverly Hills Cop, and somehow it's even better. It's funnier, more heartfelt, and the chemistry between De Niro and Grodin is perfect. De Niro had done some comedic stuff before, like The King of Comedy or Brazil, but Midnight Run was his first big traditional comedy, and he's incredible in it. He plays Jack Walsh as worn down, tough, with a heart buried under all the cynicism. It's one of his best performances, and nobody talks about it enough. But Grodin steals the entire movie. He delivers every line completely deadpan, no matter how absurd. He slowly gets under De Niro's skin for 2 hours, and it's one of the funniest dynamics in any 80s comedy. It's the rare action comedy that has a soul, and it's funny as hell on top of that. That's why it's number 1.